Do we have time to play a couple of Akeem Woods cuts?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Akeem Woods. Jim, you posted this. You probably remember Akeem Woods was the guy on the morning show with Zach Amico who just couldn't, he didn't know anything. They were talking about the Diddy trial, and the way it started was they were talking about jury selection because it was like 3 weeks ago, and he was saying that they had to pick Diddy's peers, and so the guy was making kind of a joke about, well, I hope they don't pick all, Vietnamese Americans or something, and he goes, oh no, they can't do that. I mean, he seemed to be suggesting that they had to pick 12 black jurors, and I think
it doesn't seem fair either.
Well, no, it's not the way it works.
Right.
So I think just to be nice, they kind of moved on because it was awkward because he didn't know what he's talking about.
I'm glad they moved on.
So then they brought up that Mike Myers, Mike Myers will be possibly brought in as a witness. And he's like, who's Mike Myers? So this 38-year-old comedian, I think.
Yep.
Akeem Woods.
That should be right in his wheelhouse, too.
Well, I just thought as a comedian, you know Mike Myers.
Yeah.
So then when they were like, Mike Myers is, because they were surprised, and I was surprised too. And then he was saying it's a white thing. And he kind of kept repeating this thing that, of course, in the white world, you will know all these people, but, if you took his picture around all these people in downtown Baltimore, they wouldn't know who the fuck he is. So then it wasn't that big a deal. But then when he didn't know the movie Get Him to the Greek, he had no idea what the movie was. He didn't know Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and then somebody brought up Jason Segel's dick being in the movie. He kind of perked up, but he didn't know who Jason Segel was. Then Jason Mewes came up. He didn't know who he was. And it was like, oh, my God. I don't know why he couldn't just sit there and let the conversation go on instead of, in such a short time, saying, who's that? And who's that? And then finally gets to Kelsey Grammer, and he thought he was a country singer.
A female country singer, too.
It does sound, he does, yeah.
So it was it was like it was grinding the conversation to a halt because it was like, oh, well, how do we talk about this thing that seems fairly obvious if you don't know who we're talking about?
This wasn't shtick?
No, it was not shtick.
No, he was angry.
He was very defensive. He was straining to do some explaining, and his answer really was, no, this is white stuff.
Wow.
Was pretty much his answer. And then at the end, he can't figure out who Kelsey Grammer is, what the story's about. It's like he's paying zero attention, and Zach Amico kind of blew up at him. It was a joke. I mean, it was a bit. He wasn't really mad at him, but it was funny because he said, there's a difference between I'm black and didn't see the show, and I'm not listening to the people talking right now.
Exactly. He's like, that's what we're fucking talking about.
And it was actually a great save by Zach. And so I was kind of curious if he would respond to this, afterwards, because the video went viral, and people were like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with this guy? Is he really a comedian? He doesn't know any of these people." So he responded, and I didn't know he responded, but Blind Mike on the Blind Mike Project had his response yesterday, and I was looking for it today, and I found something else which we'll play also because I think it's kind of interesting. But here's his response to the whole thing. And I thought he would lean into it like, it was really funny. I can't believe
he's a comedian. That's what he should do.
I can't believe that many things came up, and I had no clue what was going on. I actually know those people. I don't know them by name. I just thought he would
laugh at himself.
Light of it.
Yeah,
but that's not exactly what happened. Jim, are you surprised? By the way,
no, not at all.
How do you think he's going to respond?
He's going to continue defending himself, and it's going to be he's going to repeat himself. I know who Mike Myers is. I know Austin Powers, but I could have said that. He's going to repeat himself.
He's wearing a T-shirt that says "Slap your racist neighbor."
Your local
racist. Slap your local racist. And here he goes. Here's what he had to say about it.
I was asked last minute to do Zach's podcast.
Oh, last minute.
By last minute, I mean it's a podcast that takes in the morning. They hit me up maybe an hour before. I was asleep.
So, of course, he would have done a lot of research on famous comedians before he did the podcast. What are you talking about? What does that have to do with it?
He would have brushed up on Mike Myers and Jason Mewes. And no, he didn't have any idea what was going on. It's like he doesn't. It's like he never watches anything.
It would have been.
How it felt.
It would have been better if he would have said nothing and then been like, "Are you guys going to talk about anything a black guy like me knows about?"
Yeah, joke about it.
That would have been funny.
It would have
actually,
been a better response than him defending himself.
That reminds me of Zach's joke at the beginning when he was insisting that Diddy had to be all his peers. Like it had to be 12 black people that are like Diddy. Was it Zach said, if every black guy has to have 12 black jurors, I think we're going to run out of people. And it got a really good laugh. Zach did a great job. That's why it went viral, really. It was because Jack did a good job sort of making light of it.
I woke up, did the podcast. I've done a few of Zach's podcasts before. Never had any problems. They've always been cool. It was chill. I get there. They start talking a lot about pop culture. If y'all know me, I'm not a pop culture person. And that's in general. White pop culture, black pop culture in general, I'm not a pop culture person. I don't do pop culture really. I don't know math either. That was a callback if you're a fan of me from Godfrey's podcast. So, on the podcast, they start bringing up all these famous white people by name, and I don't know any of them by name.
Pause for a second. It wasn't like they brought up Adlai Stevenson, Jack Benny, Tommy Two-Tone, Norman Greenbaum. I mean, these were pretty famous people, aren't they?
Emo Phillips. Yeah.
Recently famous people.
Yeah, they were not obscure white people, like that only white people know.
And if you're not
He's
into
a comedian.
you're not into pop culture, you've still heard of
Mike Myers.
Or, Austin Powers, Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Yeah.
Which Zach brought up.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's
That was awesome.
brilliant.
That was
He
a
actually
really good
brought
call.
it to him.
Point where the host freaks out. He starts yelling and screaming.
No,
freak
he
out.
made
Posts
it
that
funny.
video, it goes viral. I thought it was funny the whole time, the host yelling. I wasn't
it didn't
offended.
seem
I'm
like
like,
it.
cool. He knows how to get views. It is what it is. No ill will towards the host. So, video goes viral, and immediately I start getting racist messages. And here's my thing. If you don't like me as a guest because you don't think I'm funny,
I didn't.
you thought I was aloof, you didn't like my personality,
You weren't funny.
you just don't like me. That's
Probably
fine. I'm 100% for that. But when y'all start being, when you start being racist and homophobic, nah, I'm gonna call y'all out.
Pause for a second.
Here we are.
Shouldn't he show some of the messages he got?
He shows one.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Yeah.
What's it say?
One.
Gay ends are the worst, I think. I mean, he writes it in the description of this, and then there's a still picture of it. But it's one. I mean, yeah, he shouldn't get that shit. We should be making fun of him for not knowing who Mike Myers is.
Does he really have to respond to it? Just kind of ignore it and it'll go away.
It puts him in a victim position, right?
Yeah.
No, I thought if he had made fun of it, if he had fun with it, I thought it would have looked good.
Yes.
If he'd made fun of himself, but that's not what happens.
The problem a lot of y'all had with me is you guys, white people, and not all white people, but a lot of white people, you guys have this thing called main character syndrome. And it's where you think that you're the main character in everyone else's story.
Okay, pause for a second.
Kind of are the majority.
Well, no, I mean, that's a thing. Everybody's
Yeah.
the main character of their own film, right?
But is he projecting a little bit there? Because it seems to me when you grind the conversation to a halt over and
making it about
over
you.
and over because you don't know what everyone else in the room knows, aren't you being the main character?
100%. 100%. He wasn't the main character of that podcast.
And also, using the term "you all," like all white people have one brain, and you're gonna hear that again. But we'll let him continue for now.
Expect everyone to know about all of your stuff, and everything else is supposed to be secondary. To the point where someone even in the comments was like, well, why are you even commenting on this page if you don't know what Skankfest is? They're commenting on the page because they're fans of mine. Skankfest is not all-encompassing. It's a white festival for the most part. Do they have black people there? Of course. But it's white as hell. You're not all-encompassing. That's like me getting on a podcast like, what? You don't know 85 South?
You're not all
It's a
encompassing.
black-ass podcast. I don't expect y'all to know 85 South. But it is selling out arenas across the country.
Pause a second, though. I would let the conversation go on. I wouldn't have to go, who's 85 South? Well, this man, they came up with so-and-so. Who's so-and-so? I mean, it's just, that's not what the problem was.
No, not at all. And I don't think 85 South is on Mike Myers' level. Which, by the way, I looked up 85 South. It is a podcast. They are not selling out arenas everywhere. They just booked arenas everywhere because there's a lot of tickets available to see them at LCA.
That's funny because I didn't look that up, and I would check on something like that because I'm like, I don't believe that, but I'm glad you looked it up.
I was
because-
legitimately interested in, okay, who's 85 South? I feel like this is something I want to learn about.
Well, there was
If they're selling out arenas.
the whole upper level was blocked off.
Nothing. Yeah, they're not selling tickets in the middle or upper level at LCA, but the lower level, lots of blue.
But y'all, and we don't get mad, we don't know our stuff, but y'all get livid when we don't know your stuff. And I know that because y'all are in my DMs being racist as fuck. Check the comments. It's all y'all are mad I don't know y'all heroes. Y'all are mad, like, to the point where one of the co-hosts was like, he's a voice of a generation. I'm like, girl, he's a voice of y'all generation. He don't mean shit to me. I do not know that nigga by his name. Now when they show me the picture, I'm like, oh, Austin Powers, good for him. So
he's so much more than Austin Powers too.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna call a spade a spade.
That's racist.
If you don't like me because you don't like me, that's fine. But as soon as you bring race and sexuality into it,
I don't think you'd like that either.
Here we are. Oh, yo, what happened?
No, he would not like us.
Last minute to do Zach's pod.
Here we are.
Oh, he's so.
The generalizations are incredible too. He's like, with white people, if we don't know y'all's stuff, you get livid. When we don't know yours, when you don't know our stuff, we don't really care. Like, what?
They were livid. He wasn't fucking listening.
No, he wasn't listening, and he was
just screeching everything.
But he's turning it in this broad brush or this whole overview. It's like, no, it's because you didn't know Mike Myers was specifically.
He was a shitty guest. Yeah. I mean, he could have just let the conversation go and jump in when he did know what they were talking about. And then when Kelsey Grammer came along, it was so obvious he was not paying attention.
No. Checked out.
It was so stupid.
Kelsey Grammer is a weird one to get stuck on.
So anyway, he wins because you're racist. He wins.
Yeah.
But then because he's wearing that slap your local racist T-shirt. Mm-hmm. I saw that on Blind Mike, and so I was looking for the post where he's wearing that shirt because he has lots of posts, and I accidentally landed on another post which I thought was also kind of interesting.
Team, very excited. Black History Month is a great time. February is the beginning of it. My favorite thing about Black History Month is, and this always happens every month since as far back as I can think, every Black History Month, there's always racist white people who are mad, and they always say the same thing because y'all have the same talking points. They're always like, "Well, when's White History Month?" And I'm just, whenever they ask that, I always wonder, like, well, one, white history is the default setting. Like, that's all they teach in school is y'all history.
Okay,
so you guys don't.
So I guess we need some more progressive people in the education system. Is the education system just filled with far-right people who only teach white history?
I don't think so.
Because I don't remember just learning white history. We learned
I learned about Frederick Douglass.
Yeah.
Does schools only teach white history?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people
George Washington Carver black.
I think a lot of people would be very upset if schools only taught white history. I mean, wouldn't there be a peep or two about that?
Wait, what was the question?
Of course there would.
He says that
People would be upset if they only taught.
If the schools only taught white history, as he says, wouldn't some people point that out?
Yeah.
Pretty regularly.
Yeah, sure.
I learned about Harriet Tubman.
Generally, the education system is pretty progressive people. It's not run. It's not. Teachers are not known for being far right people.
Would you say
I'm not saying it's all progressive people, but I don't think schools don't teach white history. I think that's bullshit.
If anything, schools are on the cutting edge of, or typically are considered, like you said, more liberal. Even if it really isn't that liberal.
Hot take.
If it's even, I would say at well, just to compromise, I would say if you even said it's equal in terms of progressives versus people who are on the far right in the education system, I don't believe it is, but if it was that way, I still don't believe that you could get away with teaching white history only. I don't believe that could happen. I'm not in school right now, so I could be wrong. Maybe they don't talk about Martin Luther King.
No, they definitely do.
Public school versus private school.
No, I learned about it in private school.
Ooh, I
so
think he's
Mark.
talking about public school, I assume, but I don't. He's not talking about my school, and that was a long time ago. But maybe
also there's 11 other months, so y'all pretty much have all of those months. It always blows my mind. It's the same time when we have Gay Pride in June, y'all like, well, when is Straight Pride? Straight is the default setting. Y'all.
I gotta say, I know a lot of white people. I mean, this is just like an old joke, right? But I know a lot of. I don't know any white person that's mad or straight person that's mad about February or Gay Pride Month.
That does seem like a kind of a used up trope.
On Twitter,
That's an old trope.
on
People
Twitter,
used to say it. I used to hear people saying. I really have not heard people saying that much.
And you'll see it on Twitter all the time, especially during Pride Month, and
Oh yeah,
whatever.
absolutely.
I don't need a celebration. White is the default setting. Look at your emojis. The default is yellow, which is essentially white.
Yeah, and they've added black ones because people like you complain and think that's a big deal.
Is yellow? I mean, is
Yeah.
yellow typically
Well, if anything,
distributed to white people, or is that usually used
No.
as a racist trope towards Asians?
no, if anything, they went out of their way not to be white and made yellow.
yeah,
I have to admit, I would really not notice what color emojis were.
That's
I just
your
wouldn't-
white privilege,
I would
bruh.
not
Yep.
care. I wouldn't notice.
You have to click and then drag over to be a black emoji. Y'all are
And
the
a white
default,
emoji.
so why would y'all need a separate month? But here's my genuine question for racist white people. If we had a White History Month, like May or whatever, because you know it would be May, it'd be a
That's
long
my
month
birthday.
as racism. What would you like us to learn about you? Like
want
would we
you to
learn
learn
about how
shit.
Christopher Columbus pillaged and raped a bunch of
Yeah, we already know all
Native
that.
know that.
Americans. Would there be a smallpox blanket section?
Yeah,
Would
everyone
there be
knows
That's
smallpox
pretty well
on
known.
Native
Yeah,
Americans
I
and
learned
killing
that in
them?
school.
What do we talk about? You guys using black
Okay,
kids as
pause.
alligator?
He's done this 3 times now. Y'all did this. Like, we are one collective white person. You all did this. There's no one who can watch this who did any of those things. So, in other words, every white horrible thing he's talking about in history, he's acting like we're all responsible for it.
Mark did use a black kid as alligator bait once.
Well, that's a real thing that he's talking about. But is
Yeah.
it that big and consequential enough to teach in history class in
Right,
school?
right.
Well, no, he's implying that there's nothing
we're not-
good in white history. Like, if we had White History Month, there would be nothing you'd be happy about.
Right, he
You'd end
brings up the bad
miserable
shit.
No, but
because there would
nobody's-
only be shitty things to say about you.
Nobody's purposely not teaching that. There's just no reason for it. That
Or
history
that'd be
class.
like me saying, "Oh, Black History Month. All they do is talk about Tupac and Diddy
basketball."
and,
Well, can you imagine if you were doing this in reverse and you were saying that yeah, Black History Month, all you find out is that y'all killed Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. I mean, that's ridiculous. Or y'all had that prison riot. Or y'all escaped from that Louisiana prison a couple weeks ago. No, you didn't. Those guys did.
yeah, those 10
It's
out of
ridiculous
millions.
to suggest that everyone is responsible. Everyone who is white is responsible for every shitty thing. And it's ridiculous to say that he's responsible in some way for every, for the Louisiana prison escape, or say, y'all killed 22 people in a weekend in Chicago.
No,
Why
I
would you say
didn't.
you all? Anyone watching
he's
is not a
racist?
murderer. No, it's just a really, the argument is like, wow. I mean, he really went out of his way to take a shot.
We have, and you can Google that. They use black babies as alligator bait. Would we talk about Black Wall Street? Would we talk about like the whole slavery? Would we talk about auctions? Like, what would
No,
you
we
want
wouldn't.
us to?
I think slavery auctions are talked about in history class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Black Wall Street isn't. Maybe it
But
should
his
be,
Black History Month is to uplift black people.
Yeah.
So if you had White History Month, I would assume you'd be celebrating things that white people did. I don't think you'd be
we would
bringing
talk
up-
about Abraham Lincoln.
Well, sure we would. Of course, we're so proud of Abraham Lincoln.
That racist.
No, he's
That gay-
anti-Native American.
That
actually.
gay Indian killer.
No, but the y'all thing is really like, no, not me. I didn't do that. And when you also talk about history and you act like I take credit for everything good that people who look like me did, that's kind of silly. But the other way around is silly too. It's like those were different people at a different time. I don't know why he's implying that only shitty things could be said about during White History Month. But I don't think he and I would agree on a lot of things.
Learn about?
We're not peas in a pod.
Because if we really did a deep dive into white history, I don't think y'all want that. It's not going to be good.
No, you do it anyway.
So I think y'all should just let us have February, because I'm all about having a White History Month. If we really do a deep dive into y'all history, I don't think y'all want
Should be
that.
scary.
Our shitty history. So he's saving us. He's really doing us a favor by saying you don't want White History Month because you're going to be really unhappy.
Oh,
Come on, man. It's not funny.
Yeah, I know he's a
Be-
fucking
be more
comedian.
funny.
I'm sort of bummed out about him not being funny.
You know, I actually watched a little bit of his stand-up. I thought his stand-up was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I didn't watch a ton of it, and it was kind of a black thing. But you know, I didn't know any of the references. No, I'm kidding. I thought he did fine, and I also watched him do an interview with. It was one of the people from the Charlemagne show who's not there anymore. Is Angela Yee?
Yeah, she does her own podcast, I think.
And it was super friendly. There was no, you know, what's that? Who's that? And it wasn't just
Well,
a black conversation.
Maybe
It
he was. Maybe he had been awake and he wasn't woken up an hour before the show.
Right, and he prepared.
He looked very happy to be there, and it was, you know, it was fine. With Zach, it just seemed from the first minute that it just wasn't going to go well. I mean, I don't know what he's done in the past, but honestly, the reason it went viral mostly was because he ground the conversation to a halt, and Zach did such a good job of saving it. Zach was funny as hell. And so he's obviously very red-assed that it went viral.
I just don't feel like that guy's ever laughed at himself. I don't think he's ever been the butt of a joke.
I don't think so, and I'm not sure.
No, he's been the butt of a joke, but he did not like
Been
it.
in the butt of a joke.
I think if we put him on a lie detector
I
about
don't even know
white
what that
people, we
means.
might find out some things.